So someone asked me a very scary question and said, listen, we learned in the Gemara that the sin of Chillul HaShem is so grave, it's so horrible, that you cannot do Teshuvah for it until you die. Meaning the beginning of Teshuvah for Chillul HaShem, for desecrating Hashem's name, you can't start doing Teshuvah for it. You can't pay for this sin until you die. And then it starts. Now what's Chillul HaShem? To give you guys a little bit of food for thought. Chillul HaShem is, let's say, for example, a bunch of Jews go to Beit Knesset, and one of the Jews decides to drive on Shabbat to the Beit Knesset, and he parks right next to the shul, and they see him. They see him driving on Shabbat, and he comes to the shul like he owns the place. He has his talit bag, his little kippah that he got from the Bar Mitzvah. He walks into the place. They saw him sin. That's Chillul HaShem. Why? Because by him driving on Shabbat, befaresya, in public, he made the Torah seem less significant. He made Hashem smaller. As if his mitzvot, his averot, all he said doesn't really make a big deal. I could do whatever I want. Hashem said, don't drive on Shabbat because it's millions of fires. I said I want to drive. Hashem will understand me. That's Chillul HaShem. Another example is, one time, a guy tells me, listen, why don't we go get something to eat? I was in the business world. I said, yeah, but I was in a business meeting, and the client told me, let's go eat something. I said, okay, you have any kosher restaurants here? I was in Houston. You have any kosher restaurants here? He says, what's that? I said, no, it's kosher food, it has to be, Jewish people. And he says, why, you always eat just this type of food? It's the same type of food? He goes, no, it's different types of food, but there's rabbis that oversee that the food was slaughtered the right way, prepared the right way. There's no worms and maggots and flies inside the salad. The animal wasn't shot in the head. It was slaughtered in a kosher way. It was salted. There's no blood in it. All types of things. He says, why does that matter to you? I said, because I eat kosher food. Why? He goes, all my other Jewish friends, they come with me to all the restaurants. We eat everything together. How come you're different? That's Chillul HaShem. That's Chillul HaShem. All of those Jewish people that went with him to all the restaurants, they gave the goy the impression that we are the same. That's Chillul HaShem. That's Chillul HaShem. Sometimes you see breaking news. The news loves to make fun of religious people, especially in Eretz Yisrael. Religious person, a little bit overzealous, saw somebody driving on Shabbat, picked up a rock on Shabbat and threw it at the car. News shows up, they're always there somehow, and they're reporting, religious people, what are they doing? They're a danger to society. What religious people? This one crazy kid decided to throw a rock. They pretty much give an image to the entire Judaism that this is what it is. That's Chillul HaShem. That's Chillul HaShem. Meaning that Chillul HaShem can be done by everybody. Whether you are secular or you are religious, you're old or you're young, it doesn't make a difference. If we do not constantly think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching us, and we are, in essence, His representation in the world. If we look terrible, because we're doing terrible things, we're stealing, we're cheating, we're yelling, we're nasty people, we yell at the clerk at the airline because we missed a flight, but it's not really the clerk's fault. We start making a whole scene. We start, doing all types of bad things. Hashem says, you are making me look bad. You are desecrating my name. Because now people are going to think Jewish people are bad people. So that means that their creator is bad too. The Torah is bad too. I remember when I was not keeping Torah and mitzvot like I was supposed to, one of the things that kept me strong in my Yetzer Hara, very strong in my Yetzer Hara, is that when I would go to different places, especially the casino, and play poker, I would see religious people. How did I know they're religious? Because they still wore the big hats. Like they didn't hide it. Still wear the kippah. Still had tzitzit outside. Like it wasn't like he was pretending he wasn't. No. Religious, him and 3-4 of his friends filling the tables. Playing this, that. Oh, Shavua Tov, how are you? Ma nishma? Oh, you Jewish? Oh, okay. Gambling. I thought to myself, this is kosher. This is kosher for me to never be religious. This is my stamp. Why? I know that they're not supposed to be there. I don't have to be religious to know that. Because if you are representing that you are religious, that you are a soldier of God, what are you doing in a casino? I'm not representing God at that time. I'm representing myself, my ego, my own desires. I'm representing myself. I belong wherever I feel like it in my mind. But you, religious Mr. Religious, Mrs. Religious, what are you doing in such a filthy place? So when I saw them there, I said to myself, you know what? At least I'm not fake. At least I don't pretend. That's Chillul HaShem. That's desecrating Hashem's name. And the Gemara says that desecrating Hashem's name one time in your life, which all of us unfortunately have done it, once, twice, or even 1,000 times, without even realizing what it is, it's not like all of the other sins where you could just say, I'm sorry Hashem, please forgive me, and Yom Kippur helps you. Like if you ate tarif, you decide to have a bacon, egg, and cheese from McDonald's. You decided it was delicious. You had it. That's a sin. But if you said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm sorry, you gave some tzedakah, you did some good things, you promise you're never going to do it again, guess what? Hashem forgives. If you really did it in a high level of teshuvah, you can even turn it into a mitzvah. Again, assuming you never did it again after that. Not you did it again tomorrow and said, I'm sorry, did it again the next day, and I'm sorry. Someone says, I'm going to sin, but they didn't say, I'm sorry. I'm going to sin, then I'm going to say, I'm sorry, over and over again. It's like they're gaming the system. Hashem says, what's the punishment? Punishment is, I'm never going to let you do teshuvah. That's the punishment, which is the worst punishment in the Torah. So now a person that does Chillul HaShem, Hashem says, you cannot do teshuvah for it by saying, I'm sorry. Not on Yom Kippur, not during the year, not during Vidui, nothing. This is very scary. Why? Because the Reshit Chochmah, Masechet Gehenom, says someone that dies with Chillul HaShem in his pocket, he comes to Shamayim with Chillul HaShem, Hashem Yirachem, what happens to him? What happens to her? A woman walks around immodest, and everyone says, oh yeah, that's the Rabbanit. That's the Rabbanit with the miniskirt. Doesn't even cover our nothing. It could qualify for a bathing suit. That's the Rabbanit. It's Chillul HaShem. She dies like this. Hashem Yirachem. What's going to happen? I don't have to give you the details. You could understand already. So now, what do? This is very scary. None of us want to go to Gehenom. None of us want to get punished. None of us want to, because all of us did this. At some point or another, all of us messed up. This big sin. In fact, the biggest sin. What do? One of the Talmidim, very, very serious kid, watches all the shurim, attends many of them, does everything possible to do teshuvah every day, asked me this question. Now, Baruch Hashem, I learned the answer for this a few years ago from Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter was one of the Gedolei Ador, started the Musar movement almost 200 years ago. And he wrote in his one of his letters that was compiled by one of his students, Rabbi Yitzchak Blazer, Or Yisrael it's called, very deep but extraordinary book. And he writes exactly what I just told you, this biggest sin in the world, we can't do teshuvah for it, so if you did everything else fixed, but you still have to go to Gehenom for this one thing, doesn't seem fair. If I'm ready, I know I did it. What could I do? He says, first we have to understand what is Chillul HaShem. Chillul HaShem is not only just the biggest sin, it's not only bad. When you minimize God, when you minimize His Torah, when you minimize His significance, there is no power in the world that can fix that. Because He is unlimited. He is unlimited. How are you going to fix that? You're going to go back to all the people that you desecrated His name in front of them? He's so unlimited, He's so extraordinary that you dare to minimize His name. How do you fix such a thing? There's no power in the world to fix it. You can only fix it in a spiritual world that's after this life that is, unfortunately, unlimited in both good and bad. But Rabbi Yisrael Salanter gives us a clue, gives us a key, gives us a trick. He says, just like desecrating Hashem's name has unlimited magnitude and effect in the world, the opposite is true too. Kiddush HaShem. Sanctifying Hashem's name. Making Hashem's name more glorious. By now you're going to say to the community, hey guys, listen, I'm going to set up a shiur here. Rabbi Yaron's going to come. Please, everyone come. Yeah, we're all going to eat some donuts at so-and-so's house and watch some baseball. No. Forget the baseball. Forget the football. Let's learn Torah for a couple of hours. That's Kiddush HaShem. Why? You showed people baseball's nonsense, football's nonsense, stock market's nonsense, going to learn Torah at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. That's the big deal. You just made Hashem's name bigger. You decide to take an extra few minutes to make a few cookies. Why? Because it's going to look good that people show up and there's cookies at the place. Maybe somebody's hungry. Maybe somebody is, has something and he's thinking, maybe I shouldn't come and go somewhere else. Or just the fact that someone cares enough about the shiur, they're going to make special cookies for it. They're going to make banners. They're going to do something for the shiur. Oh, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. You're bringing food to the place. You're setting up. You're inviting people. You're doing all types of things to make Hashem's names more glorious. That's a big deal. Somebody invites you to go do something. You say, listen, I appreciate the invite, but I can't come. Why? I have a shiur Torah. What do you mean you have a shiur Torah? All the guys are going. We're going to have drinks, girls, this, that. Listen, you can do whatever you want. It's not a good idea because all sin's what you're explaining to me. But I can tell you for sure, I can tell you, shiur Torah is much more important than what you're saying. Why? Because over there, what are you going to do? You're going to go meet somebody, maybe make some sins, the pleasure of 5 minutes, and then you regret it the next day. Me, I'm going to go learn something that could affect the rest of my eternity. I go to a shiur, even if I fall asleep for an hour and 59 minutes, but I'm awake for 1 minute, and that 1 minute I learned something that I could take with me and change my entire life, that's already worth more than all of the clubs, all of the pubs, all of the girls and boys and drinks, and all of the fun you're ever going to have in your life physically. That 1 minute is worth more than all of that. That's Kiddush HaShem. When you show people that Torah is more important, the mitzvot that you're doing are more important than anything in the world, that's Kiddush HaShem. That's also why doing kiruv, helping people doing teshuvah, is the biggest Kiddush HaShem you can do. Why? Because how do you show somebody that you're a good friend or a good person and you care about them? You give them something. If somebody shows up to you and says, listen, I love you, I bought you a house. Now, before that, you didn't know if he loved you or didn't love you. But if he bought you a house, that's symbolic of something. Symbolic of something. Maybe he does love you. Maybe she does love you. She bought you a house. She's not even married to you. He's not even married to you. You're just the next door neighbor, but they care so much about you, they bought you a house. All probably said, listen, what, you're looking for a job? I'll hire you. I'll find you a job. If you give something to somebody, you show them that you care. Now, unfortunately, all of the presents that you can give somebody in this world have a clock on them, a timer, where eventually the joy from that gift ends. Sometimes it's 5 minutes if you invited them for dinner. The second after their last bite, the joy from the food is over. Even if it's the best food in the world, a second after you finish the last bite of that 16-ounce steak, you don't remember the steak after that. You don't remember the taste you had. It's finished. You enjoyed it while you were eating it. After you finished, the joy is finished. You invite somebody to a party, the second the party is over, finished, the fun's over. You can reminisce about it, but the fun itself is gone. If somebody is with his spouse, okay, whatever the time is, it's over, it's finished. You give somebody a gift, they enjoy it, they like it, they play with it, they wear it. A few days, they're excited about it, they show their friends, look what he bought me, look what she bought me. 2 weeks later, oh, yeah, so it's some watch I have, it's some ring I have. It's just another thing. The joy is over after that. It's finished. all the gifts in the world. Eventually, it's finished. The appreciation that we have as human beings deteriorates over time, some more, some less, but nonetheless, eventually it finishes. Even if it's the glorious gift of a house, of a mansion, of a castle, of a building, whatever you say, even if it's they literally give you $1 billion, within a few years, you may not even remember who gave it to you, because you're so busy with life and chasing your own tail. But when you give somebody olam haba, when you give somebody olam haba by telling them, listen, what are you, 40, 45, 50 years old? Tell me, are you happy? No, right? You don't have to answer. I'll answer for you. You're not happy. Money, no money, you're not happy. Married, no married, you're not happy. Kids, no kids, no. Sometimes people have kids. It's better they didn't have kids. How much trouble these kids give them. Sometimes people get married just to get divorced. As soon as the honeymoon is over, the bees show up. You're supposed to laugh at that part. Honeymoon, honey, bees. Hashem Yirachem, you guys are sleeping. Even my jokes you guys don't get. Point is, some people, they get married, they get divorced. The guy says, listen, I'm closing my wedding hall. Why? I'm going to open a divorce hall. Why? Because there's more money in that business. People get divorced. Rabbi again says, one of his friends who was a rabbi, he asked him, how come you give a business card to every one of your customers? That you do a chuppah and kiddushin. He says, when they get divorced, I want them to call me. There's more money in it. Almost 80% of Americans get divorced. What's the point of getting married? The likelihood is to get divorced anyway. So the reality is, you look at people's life, whether they're multi-billionaires on the Forbes 500, when they're not on the boat and someone's taking a picture, when they're not on some plane and someone's taking a picture, when they're not on some board meeting and someone took a picture, in reality they hit life, and their life, in so many words, is terrible. You just look at what happened in their life. We talked about this the other day. But when somebody is connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they have a purpose that no one else can acquire unless they're also connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because happiness is it's a spiritual feeling. It's not something tangible. It's not something material. You cannot acquire happiness by buying it in a store. You cannot acquire happiness by acquiring certain assets. You could only acquire happiness by acquiring HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In so many words, acquiring His Torah. Having HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your life. Now, when you are the one that tells this person, hey, listen, 40 years you're in this world, you're not happy. Let me give you a new idea. You've never done it, for sure. What is it? Get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Here, watch the shiur, and then I'll give you a whole list of other shiurim. Each shiur, you heard something, start doing it. You heard something, start doing it. Get closer to Hashem. Do more mitzvot. Go to Bet Knesset. Eat kosher. Work on your character traits, and so on and so forth. What did you do at that moment? You gave that person a gift of olam haba. You gave him the gift of olam haba. Why? Because if this person, if she starts keeping mitzvot, she starts walking around modest, she covers her hair if she's married, she covers herself whether she's married or not, she eats kosher, she learns, she does all the good things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, guess what? Not only she's going to enjoy this life, she'll also have an eternity of joy. She'll have Gan Eden. That's a gift, Rabotai, that never ends. Because the joy that you get from it starts in this world and simply never ends. And that's the biggest Kiddush HaShem that you can possibly do in this world. To help somebody get closer to Hashem. How? By telling them, listen, your life is terrible. Why? You don't have Hashem. Saying I believe in Hashem and singing songs about Him doesn't mean you have Hashem. Following what He says means you have Hashem. Doing everything He says, that means you have Hashem. Preparing your whole life in accordance to what Hashem said, that means you have Hashem. By giving somebody that simple insight and the tools to get closer to Hashem, that, Rabotai, is the biggest Kiddush Hashem you can do. And that's what Rabbi Yisrael Salanter says. That is the only way you can fix the Chillul HaShem. Because just like the Chillul HaShem is so significant, you can't fix it with normal acts. Can't fix it with tzedakah. You can't fix it with, eating kosher. You can't fix it with putting on tefillin. You can't fix it with that. What do you got to fix it with? You got to fix it with Kiddush HaShem. Why? Because just like this is unlimited, so is the Kiddush HaShem is unlimited. There's no power in the world that can contain the reward that you're going to get for this Kiddush HaShem. All the money in the world, all the happiness in the world, all the good that's in the world is not enough to even be a down payment for what you're going to get for one Kiddush HaShem. Imagine if you do it every day for a few minutes. Imagine you do it every single month when you get a paycheck, you donate for Kiruv. Imagine you do it every single time you bring a few people for Shiurim. Doesn't cost you anything. Imagine you do it simply by giving somebody a CD you got for free. Took you a minute. And you got yourself a reward that's simply never going to end. And that's the cure and the only one for Chillul HaShem. This is why, Rabotai, anyone that's smart, the Zohar Kadosh says, will literally leave everything in the world and just start looking for people that are not close to Hashem and start helping them do Teshuvah. That's what Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, the one that wrote the Mishnah, that's what he did. Once he understood the significance of helping people do Teshuvah, he literally started running in the streets, looking for secular people. In those days, you had to look for them. Baruch Hashem. Today, you don't have to look. They come. But the key is, Rabotai, if the one that wrote our entire oral Torah started running in the streets, looking for people to help them do Teshuvah, to get this Kiddush HaShem on his account, it gives you an understanding of how significant it is. So that's the answer for anyone that has desecrated Hashem's name, which, again, you don't have to necessarily be upset that you have, because most of us have, even if we didn't know it. But there is a cure. The cure is to do the exact opposite, which is Kiddush HaShem. Now,